United lost one Brazilian midfielder and replaced them with a new one.
So Manchester United have agreed to sign Ederson for £35 million plus £4 million in add-ons.
No more Casemiro, but welcome Éderson.
He's the player I thought Liverpool would have got when Fabinho left Liverpool. Outstanding player.
So hopefully Éderson will be able to go in there and do a good sterling job like Casemiro did.
He's a very different profile of midfielder than Casemiro, but here are the stats just to compare. Ederson has significantly less goals and assists, less chances created, but his passing accuracy, both from short and long range passing, were better, and he won more duels by fouling less. For years, Casemiro gave United defensive security, physicality, and experience in the middle of the park. But as his contract came to an end, United were left with a huge gap to fill. The plan to replace him with Manuel Ugarte didn't really work either.
A couple of years ago, when Manuel Ugarte came in to that central midfield position, I thought he'd be a great fit for United. And that one clearly hasn't worked out, has it?
While Ugarte brought plenty of energy and aggression, he struggled to do basically anything else. That left United needing a new type of midfielder, not just someone who could kick shins, but someone who could survive the physical demands of English football while also helping the team play through pressure. That's where Éderson comes in.
But one thing is, United, you need a little bit more on the ball about you, don't you, than Ugarte has brought. And I think that the strength of this Éderson move is that he gives you the ball-winning capacity of Ugarte with much more as well, much more dynamism.
He's a midfielder who never stops running.
You can see the influence he has on the game all over the pitch. This is his touch map for Atalanta in the Champions League last season. As expected, there is a bit of cluster, or a few clusters over the left-hand side of the pitch. They're playing this way. Clearly, though, he's a player who physically wants to get all over the pitch, and he has the capabilities to get on the ball absolutely anywhere.
He loves pressing the opponent. He loves chasing loose balls.
What did he say?
He loves getting into physical battles and making life miserable for the opponent. When his teams lose possession, he's often the first player sprinting to win it back.
You can also see, though, that Ederson is a really strong performer as well. He's averaging just under 2.5 tackles per game and completing nearly 50 passes per game as well, which means he's very effective both with and without the ball.
When you look at his tackles and interceptions from the 2026 season, you see a player who loves to get involved defensively in the middle of the park.
As you can see, Ederson is predominantly taking up a position in the middle of the pitch on that left-hand side, and these dotted lines, if you can see them here and here, show the most common runs he makes. You can see that not only does he burst forward, he also tracks back to cover the centre of the pitch.
That's why Michael Carrick and Manchester United see him as such an important piece of their midfield rebuild.
He's a little bit of everything. He's not a specialist in any one thing. And that gives Michael Carrick lots of lovely options, doesn't it, in the way that he wants to build his midfield.
Especially given that United got Champions League football again and will be back to playing in multiple competitions again. Unless they lose to Grimsby again. The Brazilian is 6 foot and very good at using his body to win the ball. Get Éderson side on with the opponent and he'll use his shoulders, elbows, hips, whatever is needed to ensure he wins his 1v1 duel, as seen in this photo of him battling with João Pedro. To really understand the player that Manchester United have signed and what he brings to this team, I have to show you his journey to get to this point. This is a player who earned every step of his career the hard way. Born in Brazil, Éderson came through the youth ranks at Desportivo Brasil before spending time with Cruzeiro, where he got his first real taste of senior football. Even during Cruzeiro's disastrous relegation season in 2019, he stood out as one of the few positives in a team falling apart around him. After leaving Cruzeiro, he joined Corinthians before being sent on loan to Fortaleza. It was there that he truly made a name for himself. Playing as the engine of the midfield, he helped Fortaleza achieve one of the greatest seasons in the club's history and qualify for the Copa Libertadores. European clubs quickly took notice. A move to Italy followed with Salernitana, where Éderson immediately impressed. In just a few months, he became one of the key reasons the club pulled off a miracle escape from relegation. His performances were so good that Atalanta moved quickly to sign him, and that's where he took the next big step. Under Gianpiero Gasperini, Éderson developed into one of Serie A's best all-around midfielders. He won the Europa League, gained Champions League experience, and earned a call-up to the Brazilian national team.
And, it was 2 years ago that he was a key part of the side that won the Europa League.
Under Gasperini, he was usually partnered with Martin de Roon or Koopmeiners in a two-man midfield. Those guys were more defensive-minded, so that setup allowed Ederson to have the freedom to do what he does best, which is to cover a lot of ground and press aggressively. Atalanta became famous for their relentless man-to-man pressing. Every player was expected to hunt the ball, win duels, and make life uncomfortable for the opposition. Ederson thrived in that environment. The best example came during the 2024 Europa League final. Atalanta completely overwhelmed Xabi Alonso's previously unbeaten Bayer Leverkusen side, winning 3-0 and producing one of the most dominant European final performances in recent years. That match perfectly captured what Gasperini's Atalanta were all about. When Gasperini eventually left, Ederson's role slightly changed. He was asked to play with more positional discipline and spend more time helping control possession rather than constantly charging around the pitch. But the core of his game never changed. He's still a midfielder who loves doing the dirty work. He's still a player who covers massive distances. He reads passing lanes extremely well, spots the problems early, and shuts attacks down before the opponents can build momentum. That's why so many coaches love him. What also makes him so valuable is his versatility. In Atalanta, he played in multiple midfield roles depending on what the team needed. Sometimes he was a box-to-box midfielder, other times he dropped deeper and helped control the game from the base of midfield like a deep-lying six. No matter the role, the same strengths always stood out. The first one is his engine. The guy can run all day. He presses aggressively, tracks runners, covers huge amounts of ground, and rarely looks tired regardless of how intense the match becomes. Then there's his defensive intelligence. This is not a midfielder who just loves flying into reckless tackles every minute. As I mentioned earlier, he reads the game extremely well. He anticipates passes, closes passing lanes, and then wins the ball. I saw The Athletic comparing him to Fred, and I know a lot of United fans probably just got PTSD from me saying his name, but they were comparing him to the best version of Fred. The difference is that Ederson often looks way calmer and more controlled defensively. That anticipation I talked about is arguably his biggest strength. From what I read on The Athletic, they described it almost like a sixth sense. He seems to know when the danger is developing before anybody else does, allowing him to intercept passes and recover possession before the attacks become serious threats. Then once he wins the ball, he's quick to move things forward. He's not a flashy playmaker. He's not gonna hit Paul Scholes-esque passes all the time or consistently. But he keeps possession moving. He plays simple passes under pressure and helps his team transition quickly from defending into attack. That's exactly what Manchester United have been missing, especially since Ugarte can't do the basics. For years, United's midfield also lacked athleticism, ball-winning ability, and just general defensive awareness. Too often, opponents would just go through the midfield because it was more open than your local hooker. Ederson changes that. He brings energy and intensity, and perhaps most importantly, he brings consistency. Despite playing one of the most physically demanding roles in football, he has an excellent injury record and has regularly played over 3,000 minutes a season. That durability is a huge asset for a team trying to rebuild. Is he going to be the type of player that scores a ton of goals from midfield or produces highlight moments every single week? No. But if Michael Carrick wants a midfield that can run harder, defend better, and provide a stronger platform for the attacking players around them, Ederson looks exactly like the kind of signing that Manchester United needed. More importantly, he fits exactly what Carrick wants from his midfield. Since taking charge, Carrick has fully committed to the 4-2-3-1 system. None of that three-back nonsense anymore. His system is built around controlling games through the middle of the pitch. The goal is to keep possession, move the ball quickly, and play through the opposition pressure rather than around it. That requires midfielders who are comfortable constantly receiving the ball and moving it on. Ederson excels at that. He's not a spectacular passer, but he's reliable. He loves receiving it under pressure, playing a quick pass, moving into space, and then immediately offering another passing option. It's simple football, but that's exactly what Michael Carrick wants. That reliability also helps someone like Bruno Fernandes. In recent seasons, Bruno has often been forced to drop extremely deep just to help United progress the ball. With Ederson handling most of the build-up work, Bruno can spend more time in advanced positions where he's the most dangerous. Another reason the signing makes sense is his potential partnership with Kobe Mainoo. Mainoo's biggest strengths are his technique, composure, and ability to escape pressure in tight spaces. What he doesn't have is elite recovery speed or endless physical endurance. Ederson helps solve that problem. When Mainoo pushes forward, joins the attack, or presses aggressively, Ederson has the athleticism to cover the space left behind. He can slide across the pitch, protect passing lanes, and do the defensive work that allows Mainoo to focus on his strengths. The same thing can be applied to United's fullbacks. Whether it's Luke Shaw or Diogo Dalot pushing forward, Ederson has both the discipline and awareness and athleticism to drift into wide areas and cover the spaces that open up. It's the kind of work that goes unnoticed, but it's crucial for the team remaining balanced. Then there's his ability to carry the ball. While Carrick wants United to dominate possession, there are still plenty of games where quick transitions are needed. That's one of Ederson's most dangerous qualities. If he wins the ball deep, his first instinct isn't to always pass the ball. Especially if he sees open grass ahead of him, he'll drive into that space. Those powerful runs can instantly move United 20 or 30 yards up the pitch and completely bypass an opponent's opponent's press. For a team with quick attackers ahead of him, like Mbeumo, Matheus Cunha, that's a valuable weapon. So the signing makes a lot of sense. He's somebody entering the prime years of his career. He's already proven himself in Serie A and European football. United are trying to become more dynamic and more difficult to play against, and that's exactly why Ederson was identified as such an important target. Now, as good as Ederson is at winning the ball back and keeping him moving, there are obviously some glaring weaknesses in his game, and the big one I kind of mentioned earlier was the lack of creativity. He's not the type of midfielder who's going to split open a defense with a brilliant pass or constantly create chances for his teammates. His passes are safe and simple. He's way more focused on keeping possession rather than taking risks. This works well when you're trying to hit teams in transition, but if you're playing against a team that lets you have the ball, it becomes a bigger issue. In those situations, Ederson can sometimes slow attacks down. Instead of playing the killer pass, he'll just often recycle possession sideways or backwards and wait for someone else to create something. He's not going to play the line-breaking pass himself. That's why Manchester United will still need creative players around him. Another weakness is his end product. From what I've researched and what The Athletic said, Ederson actually gets himself into some really good attacking positions. He's got a great habit of making late runs into the box and often arrives in areas where goals can be scored. The problem comes when it's time to finish. In the 2026 season, he got into plenty of promising positions, but only scored twice, despite taking over 40 shots. Too often he seems to hesitate at the crucial moment. Sometimes he takes an extra touch, sometimes he waits too long to shoot, other times he shoots after the opportunity has already disappeared. God, I'm getting flashbacks to Garnacho. It's not like he lacks the instincts to get into dangerous areas. The problem is when he gets there, he doesn't always make the right decision. Defensively, he's excellent overall, but he's not perfect either. According to The Athletic, one issue that occasionally appears is his positioning during transitions. Sometimes Ederson will focus so much on cutting off passing lanes that he forgets to engage the guy actually carrying the ball. That can allow the opposition to drive forward further than they would if they were actually being challenged. He can also struggle when he misreads a situation. When that happens, he sometimes commits his body too early and leaves himself vulnerable against quick technical dribblers. In the Premier League, where attackers are constantly looking to exploit small mistakes, that could be something that opponents target. Another area to watch is how he handles pressure. When there's space in front of him, Ederson is a strong ball carrier who can drive through the midfield and help launch attacks. When he's trapped in tight spaces, it's a different story. He's not especially agile and he doesn't have that natural press resistance of somebody like Kobbie Mainoo. If teams press him aggressively in central areas, he can occasionally look uncomfortable and give the ball away in dangerous positions. The solution, at least on paper, is very simple. Have him move the ball quickly and not hold on to it for too long. That's something that Carrick and his coaching staff will likely work on immediately. Then there's obviously always the question about how his game will translate to the Premier League. Serie A is tactical and demanding, but the pace of English football is different. I mean, you guys remember how good Amrabat looked at Fiorentina? Then he came to United and wasn't anywhere near the same level. Ederson's occasional hesitation on the ball and struggles in tight spaces can become even more obvious against Premier League pressing systems. The other fact is that he doesn't provide the same aerial presence that Casemiro provided. That means United could still have problems defending set pieces and long balls, especially if additional reinforcements aren't brought in. Having said all of that, Ederson is a genuine upgrade on what United currently have. He's gonna massively improve the team's athleticism, intensity, and defensive structure. But obviously, he can't be the only midfield signing. He's an important piece of the rebuild, but not the entire solution. And if Manchester United want to compete for the biggest trophies again, Ederson will need some help alongside him. The good thing is that Carrick has done such a good job that you want to back him financially. To see how he transformed United in half a season as the interim manager, you gotta watch this video right here.